was at the library today and they had the most whimsical trees sitting on the book checkout counter. I knew that I had to make a set of my own. And the cool thing about them is you can do them with some old books like I'm doing, but I know they would also be adorable just simply using construction paper. You could make them more traditional and have them be a solid green, or even make them multicolored and use all different types of colored paper. They would even be cute using old magazines, newspapers, or junk mail. The book pages I used were about 5 inches in width, and then I cut those pages into little strips that were 2 inches in width and 1 inch in width. There, I needed to create a base for my tree, so I just used some construction paper. That's what that pink cone is. The color of the cone really doesn't matter because you're going to cover that up completely. Then I used the 2-inch strips for my base. On each strip, I cut a whole bunch of fringe about halfway up the strip, and then I used my scissors to give them a little bit of a curl. Be really careful when you're curling your page because those strips will rip off really easily. Also, you're going to want to make sure when you're cutting the little strips of your fringe that you cut them pretty close together. Now, when you get to the second layer of your tree, you're going to start off using those 2-inch strips just to kind of get some surface area covered. Then you're going to go back and cover up with the 1-inch strips any of the areas where the base color is poking through. You can even put a little dab of hot glue on there to kind of hold those little fringe pieces down if they don't want to stay in place or if they're curled up too much. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on the next layer as well, using the 2-inch strips as your base and the 1-inch strips as your filler. The cool thing about this project is it doesn't have to be exact. Part of the fun is each one is unique. Then when you get to the very top part, I took my 1-inch strips and I cut them in half. So instead of being 5 inches long, they were only about 2.5. And that's just because it's such a small area. And I wanted the branches to get visually smaller as I went up the tree. And then no Christmas tree is complete without a bow. Because this tree is so whimsical, it reminded me of the Grinch, which is why I went with a green bow. I just used a basic pipe cleaner for this. And then I put a dab of hot glue right on the very top of the tree and set the bow directly on top. These would be perfect for your mantle or even centerpieces or table decorations. Follow along for more easy craft inspiration.